needs you guys to actually join the presentation. Pear Deck, so if you just go to peardeck.com/join, and then you'll be able to just type in those letters there, and you'll actually join my presentation. So you actually do it now.
Type in peardeck.com?
Yep, peardeck.com/join, and GELO.
So when it comes up on Google, that's what we're typing, not our email address.
Right, you do just join, it'll take you directly to one that will say, like a link.
It's actually, sorry, it's actually for our email, and then it says Pear Deck would like to. So it's another little different. Okay.
Yes, if you just do, yeah, because what it does is it actually, well, once we're done with this presentation,
Oh, okay.
once
Yeah,
you're done with the presentation, it actually will send you the presentation. So that instead of having to really take notes, and this is a great way to kind of, for your kids, say that you're doing a presentation with them, and specifically with older grades, you're doing a presentation with them, and maybe you guys did notes, or there are other things that you want them to maybe remember or use for later, they are automatically sent that information, from that presentation.
So we're looking at the media.
So, this is my typical slide for the Pear Deck and digital. The objectives of this presentation is to basically apply the knowledge you will participate in the program Pear Deck, and then identify practical ways that you can actually use in the classroom. So you sometimes you go to professional development and you're like, okay, how can I actually use this? So hopefully you'll be able to get some ideas with it. And then we're going to kind of work together to actually construct a visual ABC book using the Coleman Prezi. And then again, we're going to kind of identify practical ways that you can actually use a digital ABC book in your classroom, what that might actually look like for kindergarten all the way up to first grade. So this is that one part. If you look at your computer, it actually is there. And it says, what is one thing that you did this summer? And so you can actually, there's a box right there, and you can actually type in just one thing that you did this summer. And it will actually start posting up on here. So with Pear Deck, one of the really cool things about it is that, say you wanted to do a school group mini lesson, but you want the students to interact with you during this time. Well, a great thing is you post a question and you give them an ability to respond. And we're actually going to look at some of the different ways that you can actually have students respond. So this one is the first. This is the free response, where you actually have them type in. So what you can do is you can actually block responses so that nobody can see them until we're ready for them, or you can unlock them so that as students are typing them in and posting them, they'll actually pop up there. So really, if it's one of those, okay, I want to see how much they know ahead of time before others see it, and they type their response to it, then this is your way of being able to see that. You can also, a lot of times, too, if there's maybe asking a specific question, which you'll see a few more of those later, that you can kind of overlay answers to see if they all end up being kind of same. And I know that when I saw an example about the graph, where the students actually had made a graph, what the being older kids. So they had created this graph, well then they overlaid all the students' answers on this graph, and you were able to see if they all align the same way. So for me, it's really cool to be able to do that. conversations that you may want to have with your students as well. So from here, it's not just that one conversation question, but there's even more conversations that can be had with the responses. Say that you ask a question and you want a specific answer for it, and then there are a couple that maybe say something different, well, you can say, okay, which you can also, you can make it anonymous, or you can specifically have names in there, so you can say, okay, so why did you decide to put that? And then you can kind of, again, start those discussions with the students and interacting them. And plus, then you can also, you know that all of the kids are actually participating and you don't have the one that's just off looking everywhere else and not even caring about what's going on. So this one, how many months in a year? If you notice, now you have, again, another way to respond to it. And you can just type an answer in there as well. Now I know this is actually the free version, which you can do a couple different responses, and you'll see a multiple choice one here really soon. I know with the paid one, there's actually, which would be great for kindergarten, especially because you guys have the iPads, right? That they can actually respond by drawing. Which I know it can also happen with computers, but it's also a little trickier with computers. But it can happen. Like I know when I kind of went through a presentation of this, it was kind of how it was used, or the paradigm was used in math. So they were asking students to draw a triangle. So then we were drawing a triangle, or what's your favorite animal? And you had to draw it. And so then again, those popped up here and see all the different animals and kind of guess what all they were. So it was pretty cool. I just have one more response. Here we actually kind of can have a graph. So you can actually have the responses show up as kind of a graph here. So that's another way of being able to doing graphs so you can make a problem as well. So this one is basically saying that everybody has chosen 12 as the answer. And I know that one of the questions that I had when I was watching the presentation during the thumbs up, thumbs down, and what you did was basically move this red, your dot, over to the side, yeah, like that. And so then when they showed the responses, you saw like all these dots that were either in the thumbs up, or you saw maybe at the thumbs down, or maybe kind of right in the middle of that one. And it was a question about how did you feel about something. This one is an example of multiple choice. What is your favorite food? So again, you turn and choose, and then we'll be able to show it. So again, you can have your dots there. You see, okay, we have 3 who really like summer, and then we have 3 who really like fall. You don't have any who like spring, you don't have any who like winter. So, I mean, it's one of those, again, you can start having those conversations with students. Okay, what do you really like about spring? For those who chose spring, what do you really like? Or winter, what did you not really like about winter? Why don't you like winter? And from here, you can actually say you're in the middle of having a conversation with kids, and you're like, hey, I have a question that kind of popped in my head that I'd like to ask all of them. Well, you can definitely go down here then I can quickly put in another question for the student's responses right away that has to do with what we're talking about. And again, you have a record of those questions and responses to be able to look at later and for kids to be able to look at later as well. So, and maybe there's a time, say, you were doing this, yeah, I asked a question and it was something that was really specific. Maybe I wanted to know if they understood what was being taught. And my results are showing they have no clue. So right away we can talk about it, we can have this discussion, and maybe explain in a different way. Well, then I want to ask them again, how do they feel about it, or so I can actually re-ask the question and be able to tell that way if, say, maybe we just need a little bit more. So it's kind of one of those right away you're getting that kind of assessment of the kids, and you can evaluate, okay, you need to talk about this more, or do you need to actually can we keep moving on and maybe then go on to more independent work, rather than once you get in, you're like, okay, I think everyone's got it in this whole group, everyone seems to understand it, and then you get off and you're doing small groups. And then there's those few that are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And you're like, what? Why didn't you say something earlier? Or like, how did I not catch you earlier when we were doing the whole reading lesson? So this is a great way to be able to, first of all, kind of maybe red flag those kids and say, okay, I definitely need to hold these kids more and talk more about this because they're not getting it. Or I'm like, okay, these kids are good. I can have them independently work on this concept. So again, it's one way you can really catch students right off the bat. So now I'm going to ask you, how do you see yourself using CareDAC in your classes? So if you could just think of one way that you could see yourself using CareDAC in your classroom. Anybody else? Anybody? As an assessment tool, during the math and lecture, we are quick formative assessment. Surveys, and projects, and exercises. Any questions for me, something? Again, a whole group question, exercise, multiple choice, yeah, definitely all of those. And I definitely think, kind of going back to the comprehension for reading, say you're doing kind of a read aloud with students who really want to know maybe their opinions on the books, the things that maybe you would do as a whole group in discussing the book, answering questions, all of that can be done this way, that you're still having those conversations, but yet you have data that you can actually look back on versus trying to think about, okay, so-and-so, they responded after, they seem to get it, so-and-so, they didn't seem to get it all, and you're like, oh, did do the student, did they actually understand it, or they just kind of sitting there chilling and hoping that they weren't gonna be called upon? And this is a great way that, okay, you all have to respond in some way. And, I think that's kind of a great way to do this so many times during COVID, especially if you do read aloud. Kids may enjoy it, but we're all of them actually listening and understanding what we're saying about it, and actually comprehending what we would actually do. Now that you've kind of seen Pear Deck, now we're gonna kind of get into the more fun part here with a digital ABC book. And this is actually something that I had to create this summer. I had to do this, and you can choose lots of different ways. And the biggest thing is first you pick a topic. It could be any topic. It could go along with science. It could go along with social studies. Um, it could be reading with reading. There's a book that you're reading. Maybe you're reading the book Charlotte's Web, or you're reading the book How to, if you give a pig a cookie. I mean, anything. It could be any topic whatsoever. And so from there, then you think of a concept that goes with every letter of the alphabet. So this really causes students to kind of look at a topic and dive deeper into it. And I'm actually going to show you mine that I did this summer. But you can use lots of different tools. You can use, of course, easily a PowerPoint presentation, and I think that's probably a little bit more along the lines of you do it like with kindergarten, for something a little bit more simpler. But then as you kind of get into the other grades, I actually use Prezi, and that's what we're going to look at, because I thought it was such an easy way to present in a very cool, unique way. And I still pretty much the same thing like you would a PowerPoint presentation, but the transitions and everything and the look of it was a whole lot cooler than just a PowerPoint presentation. And you can use even Google Slides, because if the kids having to drive, that kind of helps if they can work and present together. But also with Prezi, with it being an online tool, any child can access it as long as they have kind of their login of the presentation that they're doing. And then from there, once you think of a concept for each letter, then you can have, I think more along like kindergarten, first grade, you can just do pictures or a simple sentence to go along with each of those. But then you can go all the way up to third, fourth, fifth grade, where it's like, okay, let's see if we can find videos on this. Let's see if we can find website links to learn more that someone could click on to learn more about it. And you can embed so much into it. So it can be as simple as just a picture and a couple words for every letter, or it can go as far as having a little thing, having a video embedded, and adding a website link, and just detailing it more and more. So it really can be tailored all the way from kindergarten to fifth grade. And then I think the fun part then is once kids are able to kind of research and do what they've done, then putting together a presentation and then presenting it together. And it's like I said earlier, you can really tie this to your standards. So you'll be able to see online that I had to tie it to some standards, some state standards, and that's what I ended up doing. Mine was the ABCC traveling to Southern California because my husband and I this summer we kind of took an impromptu vacation to Southern California. So we were like, why not take pictures and everything that we kind of just did or things that we had talked about in the vacation, but kind of stick that in there. So this is mine, and it's tied to this second grade. this is like a PowerPoint presentation slide, but it's kind of done in a really good way. So the first one is Anaheim, California. So like I said, it can be as simple as just something like that. And then home to Disneyland Resort, go up to 69 years ago. I guess a little personal side. Here's another one. Again, this is one of the simple ones. I have the word up there, I have a little blurb about it, and then there's a picture. You know, let me try to get to one of my. This one actually has an embedded YouTube video on it. So again, if you wanted to learn more about Death Valley National Park, there's a video right there. And here's another one, Elder Spotless Tutoring. Again, I have some pictures, but then I also, again, have an embedded YouTube link right there that kids can learn even more about it. So with that, and here I actually have a link. I kind of wrote chart on California frogs. So I actually just embedded that link into embed videos and everything like that. It is super easy to be able to do it in embed links.
You know, the kids will have any trouble doing that on the Chromebook, but I wonder, because my kids did a study last year, and I think they weren't able to get anything from YouTube.
That's yeah, that's
So they won't be able to do that.
the only downside, especially because our school blocks it. But I guess it is, if it is one of those where you know that they're gonna find it, maybe that's one of the options is when you're at home, to find one, and then they can, so they, maybe through your account, because you can unblock it, that then we. What do you think would be a topic that we could all, and we're not gonna do co-op there right now, we're not doing that, but the topic that we could all kind of just think of, maybe some letters.
Animals.
Animals?
Or Alfred.
Alfred, that's the one I was thinking. Okay, so. Would you guys be interested in doing this in particular, this kind of thing? So if you just go to Prezi.com, it's not obviously gonna have gas on it, but Prezi.com. Like I said, there is an educator, you can mark that you're an educator. If you get students and teachers. I think it is, or I did the start page.
It's just, well, it says on the top, expertise learners, and maybe doing the wrong thing.
Go ahead and put.
Or just create a new.
Yeah.
Oh, why do I? No. First time taking this tutorial for how to do it.
Yeah. Which here, like I said, there's less than a template, and then there's even like YouTube more.
Yeah, we didn't see this.
There's a whole lot more there. And I think there's some really cool ones. I know there's even like, I saw like a robot one, but I thought it was cool because sometimes the transition, they'll turn. Like they'll rotate to like the next bubble. So I thought was pretty cool. And for me, I was able to find that one that kind of went along with my theme of traveling. You got a more? And I actually, that one I used for another presentation because I like to look at the chalkboard. And what's cool though is that you can even do, you can add more spaces if you need to. Like for me, I had to have every letter of the alphabet, so I mean it's so easy to kind of click and drag more frames into it, and then you can even put frames within frames, and it kind of does all the zooming in and zooming out. And I think it's really cool. And then at the very top, that's where it says insert. And that's where you insert pictures. You can insert if there's a website, if there's YouTube videos, that's where you go insert.
So this is my title page, is that right? And what if I don't want these things on there?
But see, this is actually like, this is kind of, think of it as, right now they're zoomed out of the presentation. So every time it goes to a slide, it's gonna zoom in on something. So like here, your first transition is looking at this whole thing. So now here, you go here, say you wanna look at this a little bit more, you can zoom in on that to type out what you want. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So then in presentation, that's what's gonna happen, it's gonna zoom.
So they will see all of that though when they first start.
Yeah, so
I get it.
see it, you
Then
remember
we'll
how,
move to that.
yeah, you remember how mine, it kind of started and you saw like this road with these kind of bubbles, but then as it goes through the present, think of it as when you're transitioning like through PowerPoint, it just, you have that kind of transition, and then it goes to a new slide. This is, it kind of, it moves, it shifts and zooms. And what's cool is that I think it's, you can, there's of course the area for adding the title, and then adding your main text area, but then it's all so easily movable within there as well. You can kind of, if you need to move it up, if you need to move the size, change the font, you can do any of that right there. And like I said, what I did, that was, that's the free version. I mean, you get so much with the free version. And then another thing I think is really cool is that once the kids are done with this, I mean, they're pretty proud of it, that then you can just copy the link and send it to parents. And the kids can kind of show them what they've done. And I think parents are pretty impressed by it too, because it shows it so professional. So as you guys are kind of playing around with this, is there any ways you can kind of see this being used in your classroom?
I think as a class, we can see what as a class. But individually, no.
Yeah, I definitely was thinking that for kindergarten, that would be a great
And
kind
with
of.
our animal projects, we can like incorporate this in some way, individually.
My kids used it last year, and now he's at partnerships, and they did it, and used it.
I know, they did, but.
I require one just in the class, or teaching them the class.
Yeah.
It was cool, and they were very independent, I mean, once they got on and watched the tutorial, they just,
Yeah.
so it was very cool.
Like I said, it was really easy to put it together. How about first grade? How did you guys?
I think if we did one together, I think some of them would. The fearless. We could sit down with some would be successful.
Yeah, I definitely think the lower grade is a great way to have kind of the whole class project, and the kids can kind of be even like partnered up, like, okay, you have A, B, and C, you guys have E, and F, and then you can all put it together and have this whole class presentation.
Right.
And they can be proud of that I did this part of it.
Yeah, fun.
Which, for a lot of my images, what I would do is I would go and I would Google search, looking for things. Like I said, there were a lot of them that we had actually taken. But again, it was one of those, if I didn't have it, I would Google search it and then I would download it and just save it somewhere where I could remember to look for it, and then I would just put it into President. And it's the same thing with the website links as well. Just kind of look to see what's out there.
Just put that right. Wait, save it.
Well, I know this is just kind of really dipping your toes into the two programs, but I hope that you're able to get something useful out of this professional development. And this, like I said, these were two things that this summer I learned about that I was like, hey, even if it was just incorporated in one way, I could really see it